Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing NPR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks. Today I've got Brian Morman, the chairman of Brunsdon Financial. He's an old friend of mine, and I'm really pleased to see you again, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Pleased to be here, Mark.
Now, Brian, the pandemic has got lots of people thinking about their future. I've been approached by lots of companies about selling up, but the most important thing that we all start to think is what's next? What's going to happen next? I don't really have a great pension, if you want to know the truth. I was in the Air Force years ago. I started my own business. During the recession, I got rid of the little pension plan I had. What's your advice, really? Where do we start with all this?
Well, we are, even though we're in the COVID period, we are living longer. That's the first thing for us to bear in mind. And I think the word pension, which is what we all tend to center in on, the word pension just makes everything seem so old and so far up ahead. So I think really what we've got to think about is just accumulating some assets, some money, which will allow a decent income to come in at a time when we, quite frankly, don't want to work anymore, or when we're looking to ease down. And I think, if the pension industry, the investment industry has got some great tools out now to help us achieve it. We go about it in a number of ways, really, Mark. Whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or wherever, we will all be starting to accumulate some money in some shape or another. And I think it's almost a case of going to the end result and working back. So what we do cash flow profiling. So someone, for instance, might have a property, they might have a second property that they rent out or that they're wanting to. Highly likely they'll have one or two pensions already building up, which probably they haven't looked at for 2 or 3 years. It all gets very confusing. So what we do, we pull it together in what we call a cash flow profiler, pull all the assets together, take a projection for the future. That will come up with a number which will either please people or won't. And then you work back and you say, okay, you need to put in a bit more, you need to do this. Take into account that tax break that you've got there. ISAs, pensions, they're all great tax saving vehicles. And as they say, the government don't give us much, but what they do, make best use of it.
Right. And has the COVID affected Brunsdon's at all?
COVID in the early stages, back in March of 2020, a couple of my colleagues thought it was Armageddon. So we had a board meeting. 7 directors got together. What are we going to do? 31 staff back in those days, and we initially put 7 on furlough. Within 2 weeks, we took 3 back. Within the next few weeks, we took everybody else back. And then we realized quite quickly that it was a time that we could pull projects off the back burner, and which we did. We've pulled it forward. We've set up Brunsdon Mortgage Services. We bought a small business and built a few people around it. So it's its own company. And here we are now, Mark, in July 2021. And we've gone from 31 staff up to 45 staff. So it's been a period of growth and investment.
Is that because people have started, like I said, starting to think about the futures a bit more? Is hit home a bit harder? And also perhaps, people have been, relatives have been dying. Let's be honest about it. They'll be passing away. And so there's more money in the system. They've inherited their house, inherited ISAs, inherited this, that. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of all those things, Mark, and probably many more. But I think it's given lots of people a chance to think about things a bit more. What do I really want to do? Some things have been imposed, of course, upon people. If you're in the arts, for instance, and you can't be an actor, you've got to find another way to get along in life. But yeah, I mean, it's every part of the spectrum, really. Companies like Amazon and online retailers, as we know, have largely done phenomenally well, and right down to companies that have had to close. But companies like Laura Ashley, Carluccio's, they probably were, in all fairness, wounded animals anyway, because they had heavy debt. But largely speaking, if a company is got good offerings, good services, good products, it should and has continued to do well. Yeah.
Brian, it's always great to chat to you. Thanks ever so much. I'm afraid we don't have enough time today, but if I wanted to talk to you about my pension, well, I shouldn't call it pensions. How do I get in touch? How do I get in touch with you, mate?
Give me a shout, Mark, and we'll have a chat.
Thanks ever so much.
Pleasure.